Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Annie, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it begins.
Hello. I'm back. I'm back from the dead. And it's good to be back. And you're back too. Back listening to the Jared Cast. We got a real fun episode, something a little loosey-goosey for you today. And I'm joined by some pals. If you're watching the video version, you see who's here. But if you're not, you're just listening to our voice. We got Jared. Surprise, surprise. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I watched a couple movies from 2022 yesterday and the day before. It's not on my list, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I recommend to people who saw the first one because it's a major improvement and it's got big crackhead energy. Like it's just it's so crazy. But yeah, other than that, I'm chilling. I actually got a good night's rest last night, which is interesting.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Nice. Very happy to be reunited with you this week.
Same.
And also, reuniting with the both of us. It's been a few weeks to a month. And so we have to bring him back. We're contractually obligated. It's Renato! How you doing?
I'm so happy I get to fill in for this obligation of mine. Yeah, I'm doing well. So I've been kind of watching a lot of stuff too, kind of like Jared. But instead of watching movies, I've been watching TV shows. I just finished. I was talking to Jared Lombardo about Afterlife with Ricky Gervais and how that show is pretty damn good. Especially with the 3 seasons they have. They're really short seasons, but for the constant repetitive nature of every episode, it never gets boring and it has a ton of heart. And if you want to ugly cry, like I ugly cried multiple times throughout the seasons, I highly recommend that show.
It's a great show.
Yeah,
I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I like it a lot.
Oof, man. Get a little deep. You know what? You start that, I'll start Twin Peaks. Or you keep on going, and I'll start.
You got way more watching to do.
Yeah, one of those is a much bigger undertaking.
One of them is longer. The other one only has 18 episodes.
Yeah, because the first series is one and a half of a great, one great season and half of a great season in season 2, and then the other half kind of sucks, and then the third. But the season 3, and then there's a movie which is a prequel, and then
oh my god,
season 3 is basically a 17-hour art house film, and it's so good that it makes the part of season 2 that sucks better. Yeah,
that's how good it is. That it goes back in time and rectifies the shittiness of the previous half.
It's insane.
I've never seen a single episode either, honestly.
No. Yeah. Even the quality of the show is convoluted, like the show itself.
Yeah. Honestly, even if you just watch the first episode, it's 90 minutes long, so it's a good gateway for anybody into David Lynch.
Oh, you know what? Then I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, did not have time this week because I was binging new movies. We're talking 2022 releases.
Hey.
We got some anticipated. We've got some faves, and so I always felt obligated to catch up. So this week I was just on a fucking streak, and most of these came out of that. But before we jump into it, we've got a little top 3 to do. Jared, what are we talking about?
We're kind of retconning our most anticipated movies of the year for top 3. Yeah, so a lot of the movies that we had at the beginning of the year have already come out, and we've already seen them, or they've been delayed to 2024, 2023, and then also new movies have been announced. So this is so I think this is going to be a fun one. I got one that definitely surprised me. Like I had no idea it was coming out until I saw a preview. And so I'm very, very excited for it. But I won't start with that. My number 3 will be Knives Out 2, coming out on Netflix later this year. All-star cast. I'll watch anything with Batista in it at this point. I love that guy. I love Daniel Craig as well. I think he's an amazing actor. One of just the accent, the vibe that he gives is so different from his Bond, but it's just so freaking watchable. I love it, man. It's great. So I'm going with Knives Out 2. Love Rian Johnson as a director as well, and I'm eager to see what he does with a freaking what was it, like $400 million budget?
Yeah.
Good lord.
Well, so it's a deal that he split, I think, with Daniel Craig for $400 million for the next 2 sequels for Netflix.
Ah, okay.
But still, they both took home like $100 million.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
fucking money.
Still absurd. Yeah, very excited for that as well.
Yeah.
Renato, what do you got for us?
I have 3. I think I don't have no idea if you guys spoke about these movies, but I'm just gonna go ahead and
Go
kick
for
us
it.
off.
Doesn't listen to
No
the
particular
podcast.
order.
I know it doesn't. You just admitted.
I'm gonna shout
Confession time with
out.
Renato.
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out I'm gonna shout out A24. I know I roll for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the way we do it here.
Dude, honestly, at this point, I feel like when A24 was like, it's become its own like little thing. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, could we even call them small
Cult.
anymore?
It's
Like,
a freaking cult, is what it is.
it is. It's pretty much. But I do love A24, and I'm really excited for their really wacky kind of like. I don't even want to say like it's like a mockumentary, but it's similar. It's very weird. But Marcel with the shell with shoes on looks incredibly interesting. The trailer itself also is kind of weird and funny in a way. I have no idea what to expect for it, and as much as that kind of sounds super lame and indifferent, like I like it that way. I think just having the title like that is well enough and getting me excited for something. So for me, Marcel, the show with shoes on. Bless you, Jared.
I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I'm excited, but it could suck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude.
I'm
not gonna lie to you guys. I'm deep with this A24 stuff, so they can put out a movie where all they do is film plants growing, and I will watch it.
My number 3 is it comes out next week.
Oh shoot!
This episode might even be out by the time, or the movie might be come out by the time this episode comes out, depending on our backlog situation. It is Cooper Raif's follow-up to Coda. One of my favorite movies of last year. He's got a new one, Cha Cha Real Smooth, starring himself and Dakota Johnson, and I'm fucking hyped for it, man. I haven't seen a trailer. I'm avoiding everything I can, but I loved the heart of Coda, and based off the synopsis of this and the whispers that I've heard from festivals and stuff like that, it sounds good, and I'm real hyped for it. So give it to me now, please.
Nice.
Definitely. Mine hits streaming next week, but I'll probably put it off until I can see it in theaters and when it expands. It is Mad God. This film has been in the workings since, I don't know, like 15 years. It looks, Phil Tippett has been working on it for many, many years. He's been kind of just hacking away at it. It's a stop motion animation movie. It's very, very dark, very, very gruesome, very, very grotesque. If you just look at Google images for Mad God movie, you'll understand why I like it already. And so, yeah, it just kind of shows one guy's journey through this crazy underworld, and it just looks really imaginative, really brilliantly rendered and shot. Yeah, I love stop motion animation. There was one other stop motion animation title that narrowly missed my most anticipated list. That's coming out in December. Um, and but with Mad God, I saw a trailer for it. I think like 4 years ago, and it still hasn't come out. And so
Damn.
I'm like, yeah, because it's literally just one dude, and the sound effects are beautiful. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah,
Cool.
Nice.
Honestly, I was while you were talking, I looked it up on IMDb, and yeah, I definitely see why why Jared might be into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm
I
all in it.
think
Stop motion.
didn't Netflix already release a stop motion horror this year too? Like The House or something like that. I think there was another like big stop motion horror thing that came out.
I'll check
I'm
it
meaning
out.
to watch. Yeah,
No, I think you're right. I think it was called The House, right?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, but interesting. And I'm honestly I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna have to put that on my list now because it does look pretty rad, and I'm a sucker
Mhm.
for stop motion. Um, but for me up next, shouting out a movie that comes out in August. Uh, from director of John Wick fame, David Leitch, with his new movie Bullet Train. Uh, I just really like the style that he has. It's very fast paced, but incredibly quirky. Like you could even see it kind of in John Wick, kind of like the flair for intense hyper violence, but also a lot of quiet moments of like oh shit, like really funny quips and stuff, you know. I love Zazie Beetz and I love Brad Pitt, and it seems like it's gonna be like a crazy time. Um, this is also like it could very well be a really great movie, but this is also what I consider like a popcorn movie that I could totally just go
Yeah,
and have fun and watch it. But considering that it is someone that I think kind of helped revitalize a little bit of the action genre. I have a lot more expectation from David, so um, I just can't wait to watch it. To be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to seeing that cast, seeing all that go down, and then not to mention it's based off a book that I also ordered not too long ago. So I hopefully I get to read it before the the movie comes out, and we'll see how it is comparatively. But yeah, Bullet Train.
Hell
hell yeah.
yeah.
The trailer looks super fun. Like
It looks
I've
so dope.
enjoyed every single time I've gone to a theater because it's always been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
hyped for it too.
definitely. I walk out of the trailer as soon as I hear Brian Tyree Henry's British accent because I'm like, I'm already sold on the movie. Like,
Right.
if he's doing a British accent, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of having trailers kind of shoved down your throat, that's the case with this one. But I'm still real excited about it because it wouldn't be a Jared top three if I didn't throw some horror on here. You gotta get you gotta get horror or comedy in here, and that's Scott Derrickson's The Black Phone, also coming
Ooh.
out this month. Very excited because it looks like a good high budget, actually interesting horror. The main villain or antagonist looks terrifying in Ethan Hawke, and the child performances look fantastic, and it just looks super cool, unique, and fun. So I'm looking forward to it, and I've seen this trailer before every movie. It's always this and Bullet Train that have played before like every movie I've seen this year. So I'm hyped. I'm ready. Looking forward to 2 weeks from now.
That movie, like just to be kind of like forward about it, I maybe it's because I kind of feel uh like a certain way after watching a trailer. But the first thing you notice, and I wanna bring it up because Jared brought it up, but like you instantly see the quality of like money.
Oh yeah,
Like
you see the difference it makes.
yeah, like 100%. I think what's I'm really looking forward to the movie because I also have like a lot of tapered expectation when it comes to like horror movies. Unless you guys recommend it to me, then in that case I'm all in. But usually like when I kind of like watch trailers, I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of taken aback, and this is no different. It felt kind of uh, you know, what I'm trying to say is, like I said, I'm a little bit close minded with it because I thought I was like, oh, I don't know what to expect with this movie. It almost feels like it's kind of inspired by like a video game. I don't know why I kind of
Kinda, yeah.
immediately thought that, um, but I do have to give it a shot because I think Scott Derrickson is not like given a lot of praise in my opinion. I think he's a really good like suspenseful director. I think he really thrives there. Um, and I honestly can't like hate on Ethan Hawke being there. Ethan Hawke is great. Jeremy Davies is great. I love Jeremy Davies. So yeah, I don't know. The only reason why I wanted to give my little like insight into this because like with this movie, I was very like it was very like 50-50 for me. It could be great
Yeah.
or it could be, you know.
Yeah, it looked hit or miss, but the fact that it has good reviews, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I,
can't wait.
I I was sold by the poster as soon as I saw the design for the mask. I was like, yeah,
Oh
man,
yeah.
we're in. Um, and I know it has nothing to do with the other thing, but when Edgar Wright left the Marvel when he left Ant-Man, he came out with Baby Driver, and now Scott Derrickson, we're catching him after having left Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he does to send up to send up Marvel. Um, and also, like, that's another one where I've been walking out of the theater to avoid the trailer because I want to go in as blind as possible.
It's a good call. Good call.
That dude, honestly, that one I've done the best without the trailers because the first one I ever saw was like the teaser and that's it, and I haven't seen anything else other than that.
Yeah. Same with my number one. I've only seen the 60-second teaser. I have successfully avoided the 2.5 minute trailer so far. This film is unfortunately only coming out on Hulu. I guess they don't want to compete the various Disney titles, franchise titles. But this is a Fox property and features the directing talents of Dan Trachtenberg. Yeah, man. Talk about
nice.
Prey. I'm talking about Prey.
Yep.
I clicked on this link on YouTube, not knowing it was part of a franchise, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad that it is, man. Because like I remember just like being in bed looking at my phone like this, because it came out right when I woke up that day, and like I see these Native Americans, and I'm like, okay, cool. It's a hunting movie, and we actually got real Native Americans in these roles. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's good. That's good,
It's
right?
rare. Yeah.
And then and then I see the 3 laser dots, and I'm like, yeah. And so yeah, I'm totally into this Comanche Warrior versus Predator. I think this is going to be great. I think it's going to be so much fun. We'll see how it goes, though.
Yeah.
I like that they finally switched it up with the title. I'm not gonna lie to you. Don't get me wrong. I love like just Predator, but like it's. I'm so happy that it kind of took a different turn. So like, you kind of are forced to kind of like, okay, it's called Prey. I'm gonna probably watch like the trailer or something. I have like the average moviegoer will go, okay, I don't really know what this is, and they'll watch it. If something's like Predator, they can totally just be like, all right, alien movie. I know what this is. I'll just go watch it. But I'm also incredibly. It's not on my list, but I'm also really incredibly excited for that movie because I think like the whole premise of like as Jared was mentioning the Comanche like Indians fighting like a super hyper advanced monstrous alien is so cool. I honestly can't. Jared just reignited my excitement for that freaking movie. Yeah.
I still haven't seen the trailer. I avoided it upon the hype of the release, so I'm gonna try to keep that going.
I'm like Jared. I also saw the first 60-second one. I didn't see I haven't seen the other ones, if there are any other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I think this is probably like the biggest one. I saved it for last because I'm sure you guys have spoken about it. No person, like at least in my recent memory, has ever been able to kind of drift from being this known for being like a sketch comedy guy, super hilarious, into going and traversing into the absolute craziness that is horror and cosmic horror, I guess. And that's Mr. Jordan Peele. I like the two movies he made, I think are wonderful movies, especially Get Out. Us, I also really enjoyed. Um, I just almost kind of await with bated breath and like I'm chomping at the bit. Froth is coming on my face. I'm like, what the heck is Jordan Poole gonna do next? Because let me tell you, man, I think like one thing with cinema that never fails to always grasp at the imagination is seeing people kind of drift along doing different things. I never thought in a million years Jordan Poole would do like serious, like not serious, but like more serious, mature kind of movies where they take topical, issues and kind of transform them into relatable, funny, horrific, disturbing movies. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see Nope. It's very interesting. I also this is the title from Jordan Poole where I've actually kind of stepped back and said, all right, I'm actively not going to do anything and not going to go look up anything or read anything. Because I kind of want to be surprised. I at this point, Jordan Poole for me, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait to see what you do.
Peele.
Because
I've been cringing every time.
Okay.
What have I been saying?
He's excited. You've been saying Jordan Poole from the
Oh
Golden
my
State
God.
Warriors.
sorry,
I would watch
new
the
one,
fuck out of
man.
his movie though.
Sorry, dude. No.
Jordan Poole versus aliens.
Jordan Poole's about to go off and break some ankles. In this
Space
movie.
Jam 3, let's go.
I apologize for that, guys. But no, Jordan Peele. My bad, Jordan Peele, not Poole. Go Dubs. Even though I'm a Kings fan, but go Dubs.
Next best thing.
But yeah, no, I'm just really excited for this. I think that again, I don't think Jordan Poole's ever. I mean, not ever, but just saying, like recently, I have a lot of faith in his. I said Poole again. Sorry, Peele.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jordan Peele. I'm just gonna move on. Nope. Jordan Peele.
Yeah, I was also sold by just the poster.
Definitely.
Daniel Kaluuya, excellent in both Get Out and Widows by Steve McQueen. Stephen Yeun, one of my favorite rising actors. And Keke Palmer, it's been like a slow kind of non-linear journey for her back to film. She was in Aquila and the Bee, which was one of my favorite movies as a little kid. And then she was kind of on TV for the longest time, and now she's making a slow crawl back to the theaters, and it's I love her, man. I'll watch her in anything. She's great.
Yeah, I'm with you with the. I haven't really seen much of Keke Palmer, admittedly, but Stephen Yeun, Burning, great. Walking Dead, great. All that stuff. Just excited overall for Jordan Peele's third movie.
I was so hoping you would miss it again. I was.
I'm self-conscious now. I'm just never gonna say Jordan Peele again.
Yeah. Nope was like I think number 1 or number 2 for me last time we did this. So
nice.
I'm excited. Very hyped for that one. And another one I'm very hyped for is we're going in the foreign realm for my number 1. It won the Palme d'Or, and last time this director won the Palme d'Or, I nerded out about it for a very long time, and that's Ruben Östlund's Triangle of Sadness, which all I needed to know was that it was him and about billionaires stranded on an island, and I'm fucking sold, man. This dude does dry satire in just the way that's perfect for me. I absolutely loved The Square. I think I made Jared watch it for this podcast at one point. And it hits the spot, and then I'm sure this will hit the spot in the same way. The fact that it got so much critic hype at Cannes gets my heart pumping, and I get to see Woody Harrelson on a beach, which is always a treat. So I'm just hyped for this one, man. Hopefully, it actually releases in the U.S. this year. I think it's slated for a September release in France right now. And so I'm hoping it squeaks in under. I don't think there's an official U.S. date yet, but I'll get there, man. I'm going to watch the fuck out of this when it comes out.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's 3 years in a row for Neon.
Yeah.
So watch out, A24.
all the A24 fanboys are just gonna migrate to Neon, and then they'll be as obnoxious, and then it's just gonna keep going back and forth until something else comes up.
Probably. I would not be surprised.
I'm not gonna lie. The moment I started kind of like, I love A24, admittedly. But I will say, the thing that kind of made me go, yeah, this is like, I'm not into it that much, guys. Like, I really am not. It's like, is when they started sending me like, join our membership club. You get a fucking A24, and I was like, all right, dude. Like, I care about you guys. I think that you guys do a lot of great work for like indie directors, but no, I'm not gonna pay like a monthly subscription for. And it also feels really weird. Like, don't get me wrong, everybody needs to be like making money. It's just reality of things, right? We need to be kind of working in this, in a capitalist society. But like, it's so weird to me that like anytime a new movie comes out, they kind of just like, all of a sudden they have like these crazy like, here, buy this book. It's like $90. It came out in 1993, and I'm like, why? Why do I want that stuff? So, A24, I like you for your movies, but some of your stuff, it's kind of just weird to me. It kind of loses a bit of the magic, I think, for me.
Yeah, I do like the hardcover scripts. I like that they released those. I don't have any, but I like them. But everything else, I'm like, man.
Yeah, they're like $50 to $60 each.
Yeah, that's why I don't have any.
Right, like, and look, and I'm not saying, like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, okay, you want to buy a script, that's great, do it if you have the money. But I don't know, like, I could just look that up on like IMSDB on like a screenwriting kind of like hub or something like that, where it's all that stuff. But yeah, sorry, so there we go. Go Neon.
Anyway, we'll settle that debate in a later episode. But for now, we're talking favorite movies of 2022 so far. I made it harder on myself to avoid talking about anything we already reviewed. So these aren't necessarily the top of the top, but they'll probably make an appearance at the end of my end of the year list, unless they get knocked out. I can't speak for the other two. Obviously, Renato has free game to say whatever the fuck he wants because he's not on here as much as we are. So I'm real excited to hear what these fellas are been watching this year. We'll kick things off with Renato. What's something that sparked you?
I will kick it off with probably like the one that everyone has seen, the one that I think everyone spoke about for the longest time. Everyone meaning literally cinephiles and average moviegoers alike. I had a lot of fun talking about this with a lot of people, group chats and whatnot. And I think one of my favorite movies of the year. It won't be like my favorite of the year because I've seen a couple of things now that I would probably put higher, but just the absolute scope of how it made me feel like I was watching I was a kid again. It kind of made me feel like it had that exuberance of like loving cinema, like again, that pang of like immediate passion and creativity you want to kind of run around with, and that's the Batman. I think I'm a sucker for Batman. I will never ever not watch something that's Batman related. So you can sell me whatever it is. I'll watch Batman. But I definitely kind of had a lot of expectation for that movie, and it really didn't let me down. Especially after hearing like that they were actually going to let it have such a huge like runtime. Um, so I think that the fact that that they kind of made it more of a character study really was hit or miss for some people. I realized like a lot of the people that I spoke to, my friends, not didn't really necessarily think it was all that great of a movie, and that's totally fine. They were focusing more like on like the actual kind of plot devices that were in it. The whole Spanish like the losing itself in translation sort of stuff was like odd for them, and I get it. Fine.
They're
Um,
wrong.
uh, I love it. I knew I was in a safe space. But no, but like all jokes aside, I really really enjoyed like the fact that it did take on such a hard style, like a different approach to it. It was more focused on the character study of Batman, how he kind of transitions from being vengeance into being hope. I think that whole thing. I love also that they kind of skipped over the oh my like showing us Bruce Wayne's parents dying. I know that sounds awful, but I kind of like I'm like okay, I got it, we get it. I love that it just goes straight into him being Batman like 2 years in. Um, a lot of inspiration from obvious graphic novels, Year One or Batman Year One, Hush. I just really really enjoyed it. I loved every bit of it. I loved Zoe Kravitz. She oozes so much charisma. And the same thing with Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright needs more love, in my opinion. He's fantastic as James Gordon. And then obviously Colin Farrell. You can never go wrong with Colin Farrell. I know he's all makeuped up, and you can't tell it's Colin Farrell, but he's excellent. He's excellent. And who knows? This won't be the last time he makes this list in this episode.
Yeah.
So, the Batman for me.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Yeah, I also really loved the Batman. I was like giggling for 3 hours, dude. It was great. If you you mentioned Hush and Year One as inspirations, but I don't know if you know the artist Liber Mejo.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. No, I don't.
He's been doing a lot of the like the Detective Comics covers for the past
Oh.
few years,
Mhm.
and he also did a story with Brian Azzarello called Batman Damned. And if you read those stories, like even the color palettes are like straight, like the Batman is like straight out of that. A lot of really muted, not muted, like bright oranges and muted blacks. A lot of really like nice greens,
Mhm.
like nighttime greens, and it's just really yeah, I loved it a lot. I love the look of it. And yeah, if you had told me that if you hadn't told me Colin Farrell was in it, I would not have been able to guess who played the Penguin. It was awesome.
No.
It was awesome.
Yeah, no. It's. I think it carries a lot of fun. I guess like it has a lot of fun. I know it's super dark. It's like super super dark. The movie, literally and metaphorically
Yeah.
speaking, like it's very dark. But there are a lot of great moments. I think that Paul Dano, for what it's worth, trying to be like a crazy person, I feel like no matter what, it doesn't matter at all. There could be a Batman movie, it could be Riddler, and people will always try to like compare like they'll always bring up Heath, right? It doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
villain could be fucking Clayface, and it's like, well, how does the actor compare to Heath Ledger? And it's just like,
Right.
okay, and I get it, but I think Paul Dano does a great job. I think he plays uh, Unhinged really great. Obviously, I can understand like maybe some people not liking the melodrama, but I do. I think Paul Dano is great, always great. Um, Michael Giacchino also. Shout out to you, man.
Excellent score.
Holy crap, that score is incredible. But what are your thoughts on Batman, Jared? If you have seen it.
I haven't. One day I'll
Oh.
see them. One of these days I'll get around to it.
No, it's totally fine. But
Yeah.
no, I think that the fact that it kind of carried more so on the character, it obviously it's Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves always is more so character driven. You can see it in his Planet of the Apes movies. Um, they are incredibly beautiful and action packed, but a lot of it has really soft moments of deep character study, and it's no different here. And I guess I guess I can understand why people are some people are jarred by it, but I don't really see it as a reason to be jarred. More so as a reason to just kind of enjoy the ride. It's Batman. Just kind of like watch him go
Yeah.
from nearly killing people, to just understanding that his purpose isn't about dealing like vengeful punishment. It's about giving people who are good hope. And I think that it's a really lovely movie, and I watched it like 8 times already. So, so
Before we move on, I'll ask you the question that the internet's burning to know.
go ahead.
Um, is it better than Batman '89 and The Dark Knight?
I think for me, yes, I think it is better than 89. I do think it is better than 89. But I also want to mention that we do not have the Batman without 1989 Batman. A lot of the time, we really need to thank Tim Burton for kind of bringing Batman into this like what we know now is like incredibly dark, brooding atmosphere. Before it wasn't like that. So I will say it's better, and for me, it's better than 89. But I think Dark Knight is still better than the Batman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The film community might hate me because I disagree. I actually
Oh!
like the Batman better than the Dark Knight.
Well,
Wow.
dude,
Yeah.
I respect it because, like, to be honest, I was really, really struggling with like the thought. I was like, I really fucking love the Batman. Like, I genuinely love the Batman. I don't know. Maybe it's recency bias, but uh, I don't know. It's like it's a close one. It's not like
Yeah.
Dark Knight, Batman. It's like they're pretty close.
If we had more time, I would get into why. But
For sure.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's a great pick. What do you got so far, Jared?
I got some goodies that I am itching to talk about. But one of them, because it kind of struck me in a way that the others probably didn't quite hit. And I know Native's seen this one because I couldn't help but hit up the group chat after I watched it.
Oh, yeah.
And that is You Won't Be Alone, a Macedonian witch folk horror movie. That I fucking loved, man. This one kind of blindsided me pretty hard. I went in just expecting like, I don't know, fun folk horror, pretty straight across the board. Knew almost nothing about it going in, and then what it gave me was completely subverted. I don't know if you've gotten around to it since we talked, Jared. So I'll try not to.
I have. I saw it yesterday.
Okay. Sick. But still, I'll try not to spoil too much for the audience. But it kind of focuses on this new witch just discovering a world that she hasn't seen before because she was held in captivity for most of her life. And so it's really just about like the beauty of appreciating small details in life. And kind of navigating an open world from a very unique perspective, and I love it. The performances across the board were all fantastic. The scenery and cinematography is absolutely stunning. And for my probably, I think, but the first Macedonian film I've ever seen, it did a fantastic job giving me what I wanted out of it. It felt true to the area, and I don't know about a lot about folk tales in that region, but it felt like it was subverting that in the way that like the Green Knight is kind of outside the typical folk tales, even though it comes from a similar place. Or it even reminded me a lot of Swiss Army Man, because it kind of has that like appreciating the beauty of life type air about it, even though it's completely opposite movies. One's about a farting boner having corpse, and the other's about a mute witch. But like, it's still fantastic. I loved it a lot, and it was a beautiful film.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Um, so there, like a lot of the actresses and actor in the film are credited just straight up as, without revealing too much, as Nirvana 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do you
Yeah.
think do you think they all um had like do you think there was a good amount of uniformity in all the performances as the body changing witch?
Yeah, and I think that's why it works so well, is because it genuinely feels like her sole personality and knowledge is just immediately in these people. And seeing her like interact with, well, her or him, depending on the situation, interact with people who aren't aware of like the transformation that took place is leads to a lot of interesting like side plots and conflicts. But I think that like the film works because the performances are pretty incredibly uniform.
Cool. And there's a very similar sounding piano theme that kind of persists throughout the film. Like, what kind of emotions did it evoke from you? Was it like hopeful? Was it melancholic? Was it isolating?
It kind of sits in the pocket of all three of those. For me, I got a lot of melancholic and kind of lonely. It feels because it
Yeah.
is a very incredibly lonely situation to be in. Like it's you are literally one of one now that like you've been kind of left in this world, and so it definitely gives that air of like sadness, but like not not hopeful, but not like hopeless, like in a weird way.
Yeah,
It stays like there's still something here and something beautiful to gather here, even if I feel this lonesome isolation.
definitely. Nato, I know it's a little less fresh in your memory, but what stuck out to you about the film?
I think personally for me the it was the same thing kind of like as Jared was mentioning. It's a very like it's like a harrowing experience, but in the sense of like someone that is struggling internally with kind of like a duality, right? Of kind of like being led one way and trying to be like trying to almost kind of be accepted. At least that's how it kind of felt to me. Uh, and because of that kind of like tear, it feels very lonesome, as Jared mentioned. It is a very beautiful movie that like visually it has a lot of stark visuals and that really have this kind of like, oh, I would even almost say not in like visually like the same visual style, but like the same feeling that evokes from the image is almost kind of like Terrence Malick, very
Hmm.
observational, very like reflexive.
Yeah,
Um, and it allows you to kind of breathe and have moments that are quite sad to be honest with
Yeah,
you. Like there are a lot of really it is a movie that's tinged in melancholy. It's still quite harrowing and horrifying, but it is something that I think that it's still very relevant to today, even if it is a period piece. I think there's a lot of um, great direction from Goran. Oh, I don't even know. I'm going to say this wrong. Goran Stolevsky. I apologize if I did, but also being like the first kind of like Macedonian movie that I've ever seen too. Um, that kind of like European kind of like a mythology and like the superstition they kind of have is also laden in here too. You
hmm
kind of and it adds a little bit to the tension that I really like too. So it felt fresh and it felt new in the sense that I kind of didn't feel like I was comfortable because I'm not. I didn't know. I had no idea about this culture. I have no idea about anything. But it felt kind of. Um, it still felt like I was being allowed into this world without really like with not being a stranger in a way. It sounds kind of odd how I'm explaining it, but it evokes that feeling as well for me. But overall, I'm with Jared. I think it's a great movie. I saw it at Sundance, and I thought it was really really wonderful. I think Numi Rapace um, incredible. I loved her in Lamb, not so much the movie, but I really did enjoy her in Lamb. And I'm kind of glad that she's kind of doing these more indie, quiet movies because I think she really settles in well when trying to be in these quieter movies, in my opinion.
Definitely. Um, the cinematographer, I don't know if you guys saw Blue Bayou.
Oh, I have not. No.
If you like the cinematography in this, you should definitely check that one out.
Okay.
He shot Blue Bayou, written and directed by Justin Chong. He shot it. He shot it on 16 millimeter, and it just really like makes Louisiana come alive. It's really cool.
All
Yeah.
right,
Nice.
Blue Bayou.
Yeah. Matthew Chuang, by the way, is the cinematographer of this film. Yeah, definitely highly recommend that one. It's a great movie.
Hell yeah.
Cool. I added to my watch list.
Let's see. One that I kind of talked about in the last episode, but I haven't talked to other people about it. Is Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, if you told me at the beginning of the year that Top Gun Maverick would make it in my list over the Batman and Crimes of the Future, I wouldn't have believed you. But this movie's pure excellence. It's a great performance by Tom Cruise. I was always kind of I've always been very skeptical of sequels that
Yeah.
reboot the franchise. But this one really did it right. Like they actually successfully managed to capture what made the first one special, which was the visual style of Tony Scott. They definitely borrow from his visual style, but they do it in a way that creates a unique and more visually stunning action movie than I've seen in years. Probably since Mission Impossible 7. It's very difficult to kind of strike a balance between various action styles. I feel like everybody kind of always has. They always try to pick one of two things. Like they always try to do the either full steady cam, no movement at all, or way too much movement, way too shaky, way too gross. And like I don't know, you can do well with either style, but Top Gun Maverick I think successfully creates its own style of action movie, and I don't know. Have you guys seen it?
Nope.
No, we're both in the dark.
I will avoid spoilers, but I highly recommend you guys see it on the biggest screen possible. You don't need to see the first one. They flash back to all the important moments that happen, and it's ultimately it's a character study about Maverick. It's a really interesting question about like why do we still need pilots? Why do we still need people in the air if we have drone technology? And like can you heal the mistakes of your past and move forward, stuff like that. It's an interesting movie. I won't go into more. You can go to episode 71 if you want to see, or episode 72 if you want to see more, or hear more. But yeah, I won't give away any more of these guys, any more for these guys if they want to see it.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought that I again when I'm also very hesitant with these rebootquels because like, well, obviously like, fucking Jurassic World, but like,
Yeah.
like with Top Gun, I was because like I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm the biggest Top Gun fan, but I was kind of like I was very hesitant. I was like I don't know how this is even gonna like why do we need a second one? But it honestly has blown me away, like how many people like enjoyed it, how actually like how many good reviews it's getting. Not because I expected it to fail. It was just like, wow, I just didn't expect, I guess, such a huge explosion in critical acclaim and in popularity. So like good for everyone involved there. and it's good that they're honoring Tony Scott and
Yeah.
keeping kind of like the similar visual style. Because damn, I guess I'm gonna have to go
Dude.
and dip my toe in the Top Gun game again.
I have two friends who hate the military because they were in the U.S. Navy. And so they were totally averse. They were like, I don't want to see this fucking Navy porn. I don't give a shit about Top Gun. And I was like, no, it's the best action movie of the year so far. Go watch it. And they came back to me the week after, literally the week after, they came back to me and they were like, Jared, you were right. This was great.
Well, see,
Yeah, I expected it to suck, so I'm glad that it's gotten such raving reviews pretty much across the board.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's like surprise mixing with joy, because I thought it was just gonna be like one of those. Okay, that's great. Tom Cruise is in it. Okay, bye. You know, but thankfully it's not. Sorry, I lost track. Is it my turn or is it yours?
Yeah,
Go for it.
hit us with
Sorry.
it.
My bad. I lost track of where I was.
You're good.
All right. Next up, for me, I'm gonna give a shout out to, God, I forgot where the heck they shot the movie. My gosh, I'm
Is it
so
Iceland?
terrible. I think it is. It probably, it probably is, dude. It probably is. But sorry. Instead of saying where it was shot, I should just say from director Joachim Trier.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be The Northman too.
Oh no. We'll see. But no, it's I guess it was one of those kind of like it's similarly when before we started recording the question I had with After Yang, but I'm just gonna do it because I saw it this year anyway, in Sundance as well. But I really I don't know, and I also don't know if you guys have seen it. Please tell me if you haven't or had. The Worst Person in the World. I think it's one of those movies again that I think that when you kind of watch it, it all depends. I feel like when you watch it, I feel like because we're 20 somethings, watching it is almost like augmented to mean more in a way. At least I felt like watching it. Like I feel like even though I'm obviously not in Oslo or anything like that, or I don't feel a certain like I'm not going exactly through what the main character Julie was going through, played by the wonderful oh my god, I'm gonna butcher her name too. She kind of has my name, Renato, but it's Renata or Renate. I'm sorry.
Renata.
Okay, Renata. Reinsve, whatever it is. I apologize.
I think it's Rensby.
Yeah, Reinsve. I think that she is spectacular. I think that she absolutely stole the show. Obviously Anders, but he's like the frequent collaborator with Joachim. But I think that this movie does a really impeccable job at really kind of portraying the gray area that is like the human experience. You know, kind of because like I think just like the title as well fits perfectly with the movie. Our main character, who obviously isn't like at all like a terrible person, feels as such because of like the flaws she has, because of like how like extensively like her goals are being pushed away by like the personal, and it's kind of about like figuring yourself out. And in this case, it's done through relationships and jobs and visiting your family and meeting new people and having friends and dealing with awful stuff like cancer and whatnot. But ultimately, it's just kind of like about finding who you are as a person and just kind of an understanding that you're not perfect. And I think that's what I like about these kind of like dramas is just, I feel like when you kind of have a drama and you really want to do like human, like I guess like humanistic kind of movies that delve into the emotions and stuff, you have to make your characters like equally flawed as they are perfect, and that's the only way to do it. And I think that Trier has executed the perfect balance of it all. You kind of ebb and flow in liking the characters and whatnot, and I think that because you kind of have moments where you go, I really don't like Julie here, or I really don't like Axel or Elvine here, like you end up at the end of the movie feeling really empathetic towards everybody. And I think that's what kind of hit me the hardest. Like when you just kind of feel and you go, wow, there are a lot of moments in that movie where I didn't like the character doing something. but I still feel an immense amount of empathy for them. Um, and it just really hit me hard. And I think it's one of the best movies like of this year. So yeah.
Cool.
You're really showing your hand that you don't listen to this podcast because we did a review on it. But
Oh no,
yeah.
no, I'm aware. I'm aware. I kind of I just how would you put it? I didn't want to just be like, fuck it. I'm just gonna fucking talk
No,
about
I
it.
know.
You know?
I,
So,
no. I'm just pointing back to the comment where you said you don't know if we've seen it.
yeah,
And
fair
we
enough.
both loved it from what I remember. I don't want to speak for Jared, but I especially loved it. I think the lead is one of the most charismatic characters we'll get this year. I think she just oozes that likability, despite her constantly fucking up her life and everybody else's life around her. You can't help but still root for her and still kind of fall in love with her the same way that a lot of the characters in the movie do. And so I love this one as much as you do. I think it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I still I enjoyed a lot of the things that you enjoyed. Um, can I'll ask you, Nita, since it made your list. What so there are two kind of big uh metaphor sequences. There's the psychedelic trip, and then there's the considering
stopping in time.
the stopping in time. What did those what did those what emotions did those sequences evoke out of you, and what did they what do you think they did for you cinematically, just in general?
Yeah, no, I think like for me, the one that I'll speak on the one that I think that means the most for meant the most to me and that resonated hardest with me, and I think that's like when everything kind of stops, everything freezes. Um, I think the whole point of that, I mean, besides being obvious in the sense of like, I just kind of wish I can stop time and just go away and do what I want to do, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think it's also like very much about the two pulling like kind of like the conflicts that she has going in within her, right? Because she's dating like she's well, since we all watched fuck it, but like when she was dating and Axel, right? Like the problem with that is like what she had was like a nice partner, right? But it's just like it's the generational thing kind of made her feel pressure to to do a certain thing. And I think what ended up happening in that sequence where like everything slows down, she goes to run off to go find Elvin, like it's like both a wish that she can put her thing on hold with Axel and go do what 20 something year old should do, but also kind of a desire to not want to really leave that part of her behind, even though she should, you know. And I think like that for me is like a really perfect kind of like metaphor for that desire to kind of want to do something, maybe being stuck someplace where you don't want to necessarily leave or feel like you shouldn't leave, um, but it's also conflicting with your own kind of like personal um, desires in a sense, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I think that for me, like when it hit me, it really I felt that sort of sense where it's like, God, I wish I could just kind of stop and go do that thing with that one person and then come back and just keep on going, right? And then as for the psychedelia thing, um, there were a lot of moments in the movie where it wasn't only just like, because I'm making it sound like her problems were like, oh, it's just her relationships, but it's also like about the lack of approval she gets from her dad, and it kind of like or like just like the insecurity she kind of has, it just transforms. And I think like that whole sequence, the psychedelia sort of thing, the fact that it kind of went towards like almost like a really strange like body dysmorphic sort of thing is also really relevant towards like her feeling of herself, I think. At the end of the day, Julie is just a very insecure woman who doesn't know what she kind of wanted to do throughout the movie, and she kind of has to flub and fall and do all these things, kind of like how we do when we're 20 in our 20s. Um, and I think they're just two really wonderful sequences, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that was my, I guess, main critique was that, like, because I don't know what the character wants, like, just as a character on paper, I'm used to having a protagonist that is actually chasing for something, even if they don't know what they're chasing for. I still have a motivation,
Yeah,
and I feel like Julie didn't have one. But what, like, is that, like, why was that fine for you as a viewer?
yeah. I guess because the directionlessness, maybe it was more of a personal thing, you know, for me. I don't know. I think maybe perhaps it's just a reflection on how I feel about things.
Yeah.
Maybe I feel kind of lost in the jumble of things, but for me, it felt like a person who was just trying to get through the day. That was the goal, I guess. That was the mindset I kind of adopted when it came to thinking about Julie as a character. Like, it's somebody who wants to do what she wants, but also doesn't want to disappoint. So again, it's a I guess like the reason why it feels like she's not chasing anything is because she has these constant like the two things that are just constantly banging in her head always, right? It's about pleasing people and also about trying to be for you, and I think that's the reason why the end is so rewarding, where she kind of just accepts herself and says, "Screw it, I gotta figure my stuff out by myself," and you know,
Right.
take a hold of my life. And I think that's the reason why I'm okay with that kind of thing that you were describing, where it's like I think the directionlessness of the character is perfect in the I guess the what do you call it, the situation, right?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well, cool. I'm glad you liked it, man.
Yeah, sorry, I took up the airwaves.
No,
You're
no.
good. That's what it's for. That's why the airwaves are there, man.
That's why you're here.
And it gives me an excuse to slip in kind of two recommendations on my turn. I won't go into detail on this. It did make my list, but there's no way we're getting to everything that made my list for this episode. But if you like The Worst Person in the World, I highly, highly recommend Anais in Love. It was a French film that came out. It's gorgeous. Similar protagonist. It follows a woman who falls in love with the wife of the man she's having an affair with. And it's a beautiful film. Right down the same alley as Worst Person in the World. But might appeal to Jared a little bit more because it has stronger motivations in the character and kind of solves some of the issues he had with it. Just slipping that in there before I switch to my real recommendation, which is another rom-com, because why not? We're already in the swing of it. And I'll go with Fire Island, Hulu's queer rom-com this year. And it's just a lot of fun. It's not the most groundbreaking movie in the world. It is still kind of a pretty formulaic romantic comedy. However, the cast is fantastic. It does a great job showing kind of elitism within the queer community, particularly like when in regards to class, which is great and interesting and something I hadn't seen on film. Not that I'm super well versed in the queer film genres, but it was still super cool to see. The soundtrack is fucking fantastic. Some of the best queer pop out there. They had like 3 Perfume Genius songs in it, so you know I'm all about that shit. And overall, it's just a real funny movie with a incredibly likable group of people, and the romance is fantastic. It'll get your heart fluttering, and the comedy is holds its own with some of the best I've seen this year. I was constantly laughing throughout this thing. And it was just a real lovable movie. I just had a great time watching it.
Hell yeah!
Very cool.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I have not seen it either, but I know Bowen Yang is in the movie, or Bowen Yang, I'm not sure. He's one of the newer members of the Saturday Night Live cast, and I'm kind of iffy on him as an actor. So, can you speak about his performance in the movie?
Yeah, he was fantastic. Him
Okay.
and the other lead, Joel Kim Booster, they have amazing chemistry on screen. They play kind of the main two of their group. The main plot is Joel wingmanning for Bowen Yang, and he plays this like great shy queer character where usually you get like the flamboyance over the top types. He's a lot more reserved. The island they go to is known for hooking up, and he plays kind of a character who's not in that lane at all. And it's so sweet. He plays such a sweet, lovable guy. It's interesting that I didn't know he was on Saturday Night Live. He's probably the least comedic character in the whole movie,
Wow.
especially in that group. And he plays the drama super well. I thoroughly enjoyed his performance, top to bottom.
Cool. Very cool. Um, and I also saw, like, just in a synopsis, that it was based on Pride and Prejudice, the plot.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a queer Pride and Prejudice, which is great because it also feels incredibly modern. So you don't feel like it's trying to be Pride and Prejudice, but like
Okay.
all the beats are there, and it does great things with that framework, without like feeling like ripping it off. Like it doesn't feel rehashed or recycled in any way, apart from like being kind of a hitting the normal beats that you would see in Pride and Prejudice and in romantic comedies, but it's like a hyper modern, hyper gay version.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you have a favorite scene without spoiling anything, or is it a major spoiler if you give your favorite scene?
Um, kind of, sorta.
Okay.
I won't say my absolute favorite, but there's a scene where the main group of friends are like super broke. Like this is the last year they can even do this trip, and so they're just like us, poverty line, and they get invited to the rich group's like house party, and just seeing like the difference in all these like statuesque gays where they're like posing and flexing with each other and like talking about their 401ks and stuff, and then like the main group comes in and they're like twerking with bottles of tequila and shit and just going off. The whole party scene is absolute fantastic and probably got the best laughs of the movie.
Hell yeah.
For sure. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, worth a watch.
For sure.
Very nice. Very nice. Have you guys seen? Have you? I know Jared has seen. No. Actually, no. I'll do this one instead. Have you guys seen the Bob's Burgers movie yet?
Oh
I had
no.
COVID. I haven't gotten to the theater yet.
I'm so sorry. I haven't even seen the show.
Oh damn! I'm surprised. You're such a little animation boy.
Honestly, dude, I think I kind of like gravitate towards the anti like adult cartoon stuff. Like I watch Rick
That's
and Morty occasionally, but I don't really. It's not that I have anything against adult animation. I have never like
Well,
really been there, you know.
Oddly enough, Bob's Burgers is one of those rare exceptions where it gets more wholesome as it goes along.
Oh
So
shit! No way.
Yeah, so they start out kind of like with Family Guy vibes, and then like by season 2, you're already it's like very much about the family, and like yeah,
Okay.
they still have like dirty jokes here and there, like
Yeah.
it's still a teen show, but it's like it's good for kids, like for sure, and they have like family
Absolutely.
lessons, and they prioritize the relationships in the family. So
Yeah.
I definitely think the show is like right up your alley. It's a good comfort
Yeah.
show too.
I
More
will definitely
puns
have
than
to-
dick jokes for sure.
Yeah.
I'm all about that then, because like I have again I don't know why, but like adult animation and I have never really like It's like a like I don't know why I as a kid not as a kid but when I was like in high school I guess a kid but like a freaking robot chicken used to just like fucking be like I hate this. I do not like this. I cannot like this but Bob's Burgers I will give it a go, Jared. I will give it a go for both of you.
Yeah, and honestly, the movie's a good gateway. Like they you don't need to have seen the show to appreciate the film.
Mhm.
The film is basically like 100-minute long episode of Bob's Burgers, which I love. I love. Um, they realized, I think that without giving too much away to you guys, that they know which relationship in the family is more because so there's Bob, his wife, and then his three kids. His wife is Linda. His three kids are Tina, Louise, and Tina, Gina, and Louise, in descending order of age. And they're basically run a burger shop that they live in the
Yeah.
floor above the burger shop, and they're losers. Bob has this dream to be the biggest burger shop in town, and they never quite get there. But they always stick together. Something always goes wrong, basically. And so this movie,
Right.
everything goes wrong for them. But they realize that within the family, there's a relationship in there that's maybe the most interesting, and and the writers zero in on that really well, while also still giving all of the main cast members time to shine. The show is also known for its like wild and crazy and like purposefully corny musical numbers, and they have so many great musical numbers in this movie. They actually, because they have a budget now, they can go crazy with the dance choreography. So
Oh, hell yeah.
everybody's dancing in the most bizarre way, but it's so well animated that you don't care. There's two characters played by Kevin Kline and Zach Galifianakis called the Fish Odor Brothers. They're like the town. They're the town rich people. They're the town billionaires, and they are fantastic in the film as well. Yeah, so they do allude to certain things that have happened in the show. Like they're like, oh yeah, we know that biker gang. Oh yeah, we know that person. Like, but they don't like you don't need to have seen the show to watch it.
Right.
Jerry, so are you caught up in the TV show or are you?
I have like half a season left,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Same. I think I need like 6 more episodes, but I don't think they reveal anything that's in the movie, as far as I know, at least.
Well,
I'm
speaking
gonna try to
speaking
watch
on
it.
oh sorry,
Go.
speaking on that, like Jared, since it made your list, like just out of curiosity, do you think that like watching the show made the movie like more rewarding, or do you think
Yeah.
or like yeah? Like would you recommend people watch the show or like watch some of the show before watching the movie, or do you think
mean,
either way? You know?
I could give you a list of like my favorite episodes, but like they're you, you if you've seen the show, you know what you're getting into.
Right.
And I genuinely think if you haven't seen the show, you're gonna want more. There's pretty much nothing to hate about it. Like it's kind of it's just a nice family film with some dirty jokes, and like that's it. But like so is like some of the best Disney movies, you know. So you know yeah, like as someone who's been watching the show for years, it felt really rewarding. There are scenes that like feel like, oh man, I'm so proud of how far they've come. I'm so proud of this cast. There are moments where with certain characters that are, it's like, oh, that's a classic moment for that character. And you know, when sitcoms do that, I'm always kind of iffy. But when the movie does it, it's like you said with the Black Phone, money makes a difference, and so it's that much more explosive, that much more crazy. I hope I'm not saying too much, but yeah.
No, do not at all.
How does it compare to other animated shows to movies, like the Simpson movie or the South Park movies? Where would it rank?
Oh man, I don't know if I would put it above South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut because that's such a powerful comedic statement about censorship that I think still holds up today and is even more relevant today.
Hmm.
And it's also like probably funnier.
Sure.
Um, and the songs, I
Much different vibe.
yeah, shut your
Yeah,
fucking
way
face, Uncle
different vibe.
fucker. There's a
Kyle's mom's a
um,
bitch.
yeah, the jazz breakdown at the end of Kyle's Mom's a Bitch is so good. He even does the jazz hands.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
No,
Uh,
as far as like other I would put it like on par with the Simpsons movie, where it's like
Okay.
extra rewarding if you've seen the show and a great gateway. But like I've said before, but like also it just it's a fulfillment of the show's potential, which I think is
mhm.
what I wanted out of the movie
Mhm.
subconsciously, and I didn't realize I wanted it until we get to the climax of the film. And it also I think yeah, so I not above South Park, but maybe right above or right on par with the Simpsons movie, I would say. Um,
Nice.
yeah, definitely above the Family Guy Star Wars movies. I feel like those kind of go up and down as far as like quality.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's just Family Guy.
Yeah, true.
Oh shoot.
Uh,
Next up, to keep the Sundance kind of vibe for me going, I'll knock out the other one that I saw at Sundance that you guys also saw. After Yang.
Ooh,
Um, I I was genuinely moved by this movie, and it's the first movie by director Kaganata that I've seen, so I really have no like no
bro,
previous like thing to compare it to.
watch
Um,
Columbus, bro.
okay, that's on my list already
It'll
too, dude.
rock your world, dude. It'll rock your world.
All right,
Okay.
especially after Yang. um, but I cannot express how gorgeous I think like subtle silence is. It's a very like kind of very like everyday life sort of movie where it's just this family that has an AI robot like thing that kind of, it's like a babysitter for their couple of Colin Farrell and his wife played by Jodie Turner Smith, the couple of Jake and Kyra. They have they have a daughter they adopted, um, and they have this this AI like robot humanoid Yang that is basically kind of they don't like Kyra does like the Colin Farrell's wife like is always bringing it up, but it almost feels like they're allowing Yang to parent their child. It pretty much is,
Yeah.
while also kind of trying to get her to kind of get connected to her roots, right? Uh, and so I think like the complexity of it is singled down to kind of understanding like what it means to be a parent, and also kind of I guess like just to kind of for lack of better words, like I'm really struggling to kind of describe it, but like the vastness of like time and the world, it almost gave me the same vibe and same feeling I had when I was watching A Ghost Story, where like it kind of comes down to this singular little like couple, right? But it ends up being this expansive thing about memory and time and how it's like all connected and how like you know everyone has these interconnecting linked stories. It's all about everyone suffering, everyone kind of going through something, or everyone having really beautiful moments. It's essentially uh I guess like a love letter to being a human.
yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And what I've always enjoyed about science fiction movies, and science fiction movies up like I haven't seen a lot of like from like the 70s or 80s, but like contemporary science fiction. I've always felt such a strong connection with science fiction because of how like science fiction usually tends to focus on like humanity, right? Like it's always wrapped up in this like, oh, here's this all this technological advancements, aliens and whatever, but the conflict, the inner struggle, any sort of like glaring conflict is brought upon by human nature. At least that's how I've always felt about it, and this is no different. I think it's just about kind of how do I even? It's just about. I think it's mostly just about being there, enjoying the moments. Like because I feel like Colin Farrell's character is very like not even distant, just more so unaware. And I think because of Yang, the convenience of Yang made him lose the fact that he had to be there. He has to witness these moments. He has to be the one to take like be the one responsible for his daughter, teach her all these things that he knows, and I love the fact that he's like the little the subplot with him being a tea trader or something like that. I really love that. I love the whole connection to it. It's also very very glaring of like not glaring, very obvious that like that Kagonada made him a tea trader to be very like connected to nature. At least that's how I felt about it. Also, it's very reflexive. I think, and it also really hits hard when it comes to humanity and to family. And I think it's overall just a really beautiful movie that I rambled on about.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the like higher it ranks on my list of movies this year,
Yeah.
I think. Like it'll be due for a rewatch, but right now it's like fighting easy for a top 5 spot, if not top 3.
It's really really good. I know one of our shared critiques in our episode was the kind of the underdeveloped Kira character, the wife.
Oh yeah.
What were your thoughts about her?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm glad you brought that up because I'm actually there with you guys. I think that's
Okay.
one of the unfortunate little things that happen, like the not the little things, but it's one of those things that unfortunately, like I kind of wish it fleshed into because I thought it was gonna take this dive when when you're kind of going when they take Yang to this institute and they start analyzing like the memories and whatnot. I was thinking to myself like, oh, okay, there must be something that they're gonna flesh through. Maybe like are they gonna try to make this like argument with like AI feeling like AI becoming human, feeling human, kind of like her in a way, like what's going on? But kind of the fact that they kind of just I'm not gonna lie to you. I know that the movie's really short, and like I understand that the whole scope of it was to kind of bring it down into this tiny family, and to
Yeah.
make them look at this gigantic scope of like what humanity is, memories, and all this other stuff. But it's such a pity that they kind of like left something like unexplored. You know what I'm saying? And I can definitely understand the criticism when it comes to that. But I'm actually in agreement with you guys, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah, and like I don't mean that as a knock against Jodie Turner Smith, because
Yeah.
her scene with Yang where they're talking about death, fantastic
Yeah.
scene,
Fantastic.
scene. Yeah,
100%. And I would even say like another one of my favorite scenes, and I think it's a gorgeous scene, is when Yang is asking Jake, Colin Farrell, about his why is he so interested in tea, and he goes on about like the whole like basically like describing again like life. It's like oh just some of these tea leaves they have a taste of this certain soil and blah blah blah, and you're just like you're just describing like the whole like Yang himself is like almost like like the tea. He holds all this memory, all this human existence, and within him,
yeah,
and it's I think it's perfect. I think it's such a great metaphor. And I don't think it's necessarily one of those movies either that have like a direction where it's like, oh, this is the end goal. Obviously, like they start off saying we got to fix Yang, but it's more than that. And I guess to sound cheesy, it's about the journey. To be honest with you.
yeah. We mentioned in the episode that scene actually does two things for me because
Yes.
it does what you said, but there's also this irony of like he cares more about the Asian tea history than his own
Right.
Asian son,
Yeah,
which is
Right.
insane. But yeah, I love it. Yeah.
great movie.
Cool.
I will take us on back to Europe with my next pick, and back into the horror realm. It was listed as a
Ooh.
horror drama. I think it falls in line with more thriller, but that's all just semantics. Regardless, I watched it. I watched it in parts because my girlfriend couldn't finish it the first night, but I finished it yesterday, and it's jumping high up on my list of favorite movies. Probably one of my favorites that I'm going to talk about today, if not my favorite, and that is The Innocents out of Norway.
Oh wow. Nice.
Yeah, fucking phenomenal movie. It has probably the three best child performances we'll get this year, easily, and like they all fucking knock it out of the park. It follows a group of children who, two of which just moved to the area. One of them is a nonverbal child with autism, and they kind of slowly realize that they have superpowers, basically.
Oh.
And
Cool.
one of them turns fucked up and evil, and then shit goes down, basically. But under it is a great message of like how fucking gnarly childhood is, and how like if you're just left to your own devices, you kind of get in weird, fucked up situations sometimes. It talks about parenthood and like the deep effects that the smallest actions that you have as a parent affect your child, because they're just sponges that soak up everything. And it's got great horror scenes. It's got amazing suspense. The practical effects in it are like small but incredibly effective. You'll just see like ripples in the sand, or like water moving, or stuff like that. I don't want to spoil any of the big ones, but the practical effects are phenomenal in this. The area is beautiful. It's a beautiful forested region of Norway that they chose to film in, and they film it fantastically. The cinematography is beautiful, and overall, it was just a very pleasant surprise for a movie. It kind of affected me with its drama and its horror in equal parts, and I think that's the sign of something great.
Have you ever read the novel Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, yeah,
That like you kind of is it similar in that sort of sense? It's about like kind of like with because you mentioned the kids not necessarily exactly as it's like kids left on an
yeah,
island to fend for themselves, but you mentioned like the whole fending for themselves as in like trying to explore childhood and whatever and this and that.
yeah.
Um,
It's not
is it kind
that
of in the
it's
same
not
vein?
that ish. It's not that extreme, because the
Hmm.
parents are around. It's
Yeah.
kind of the most of the movie and most of the meat of the movie takes place like while they just go out and play during the day, because it's summer. Most of the town is on vacation, so it's pretty abandoned. And so they kind of just go fuck around in the woods and do shit. And so it has that air to it where it's like the root of humanity can kind of switch on a dime, particularly in children. But it's definitely not that extreme, or it doesn't quite take it to that level, I guess
It's
is
not
what I'm saying.
savagery, right?
Yeah, it's not. They're not like eating each other and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and then like obviously compared to like the other, what was that movie by? Oh man, he's like James Gunn's like not protege, but one of his best friends. Brightburn, Brightburn. Have you seen Brightburn?
No.
Like about like basically the premise is like,
Oh, is
what
that
if
the kid who like has superpowers and like is a villain
yeah,
instead?
basically like he's Superman if Superman were not a good alien.
Gotcha.
If you were a bad person. That one obviously takes more of a straightforward approach where like the villain is killing everybody. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it just seems like a very interesting premise, the innocence, because um, anything with like kind of children with this like devastating power is very horrifying in the sense because of how malleable they are. Their minds are malleable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's great too because their powers aren't like that extreme either.
Right.
Like for a majority of the movie, like all they can really do is move rocks a little bit or like that. But you see like the evil kind of slowly creep into the antagonist, who starts out just one of the innocent children, and then you kind of see like they slowly just start butting heads, and it really takes its time both developing their powers and developing the conflict. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great kind of lit fuse of a movie.
That movie just sounds genuinely fucking scary. To be honest, with you.
It's not that the horror elements of it are pretty minimal.
Right.
But that said, like looking over at my girlfriend while we were watching it, she was like this for like half the movie at least. She was like just on edge because it is very tense, and you care about the characters, especially the main two, the two sisters who kind of develop sisterhood through what they go through. You really learn to care about them, which is great.
Hell yeah.
Well,
I-
add it to the list too.
Yeah, I have not seen it either, but Eskil Vogt, the writer-director, also co-wrote The Worst Person in the World. Was there something in particular about the writing or the dialogue that you latched onto?
Yeah, I think primarily with those sisters, because their relationship is super dynamic. It starts out, one of them is kind of jealous of the attention that the nonverbal child gets, and also has to kind of fill this parental role where she's a supervisor. She takes on a lot of responsibility. If you're taking a child with autism out into the woods, basically, you're responsible for that human, and you see kind of like the jealousy boil and some conflicts come out of that. But the writing of that relationship is superb, and of the main antagonist too. The writing with them is great. Just seeing the slow development in their psyche and kind of why they kind of start turning evil, mostly due to parenting reasons. Yeah, it's great.
Excellent.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, we've done full reviews of Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Northman, which could both be contenders in my list later this year. We'll see how far they go. Definitely Everything Everywhere more so than The Northman.
Yeah,
Yep,
Everything Everywhere is kind of
100%.
a lock for like top 3 for everybody who's seen it that I've talked to.
Okay, like since you're bringing that up, I'll just say like my last two are those two movies. The
Okay.
Northman and
Really?
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, excellent movies. Highly recommend them. One streaming on Peacock, the other one still in theaters. So go check it out.
Oh yes. Yep.
I'll go instead. Since we talked about the others, I'll go with A Hero. It's an Iranian movie on Amazon Prime. Did you guys see it?
No.
No, I didn't even hear about that movie.
Came out in January, and it's the same director of The Salesman, which I have not seen, and A Separation. A Separation, which I have seen. And A Hero is basically just about a guy who's coming back out of jail. He couldn't pay his debts, and he's trying to get those forgiven so that he can retain custody of his son. And he only has 2 days to do it because he has 2 days of leave from jail. Or from prison, and so it's very, very
Intense.
This movie is very, very stressful, it's very, very hard to watch at some points. It's a lot of frantic dialogue, and the movie is a very dialogue heavy movie. It's very much a very humanistic kind of like, you know, leaning into working class conflicts, and everybody's got their own problems that they have to deal with. Everybody's got their own issues that they bring into these conversations, into these arguments, and so you, even though you really feel for the main character, you're really rooting for him. It's very, very hard to like it's very hard to imagine a solution for this movie, because everything is so intertwined. Everything is so uh, uh, relatable, I think, to a lot of these people. It is a Persian language film,
Yeah.
and I highly recommend people watch it with English subtitles, because the actors are all amazing. Asghar Farhadi, an amazing filmmaker. I've only seen one other movie by him, A Separation. I do want to see the other ones. It's just, if they're anything like these two movies, I feel like I don't have the emotional energy. Okay.
So the Salesman's pretty heavy too.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's just really, really, really cool. Like very handheld, but never too shaky. They use the handheld really well to build tension and kind of create emotional distance, which I love. The main actor is Amir Jadidi. He is brilliant. I've never seen him before in a movie. It looks like he mostly does like thrillers and stuff, or action movies. So it's kind of cool to see him in like to see him really like kind of get pushed to the breaking point, and you know, go like start off the movie with a smile on his face, and then you slowly see that smile wither. It's really heartbreaking stuff, but it's really, really beautifully cinematic. Very, very good editing, and yeah, really, really solidly directed, solidly written movie that I think everybody should watch.
I feel it only natural to ask this then.
Yeah.
You explained that it's basically a movie set in 2 days. It's intense as fuck, and incredibly heavy. It sounds like a Safdie Brothers movie. Is it? How comparatively is it to this movie?
It is. It's not quite as like sweaty as Uncut Jams, but it's definitely like, it doesn't make your palms sweat as much, but it's definitely like, oh, now we got to deal with this.
Yeah.
Come on. And so yeah, it's kind of like that. It's not really like a
Safdie brother. Yeah. Hey, so where can I watch this movie actually?
It's on Amazon Prime. It's a Prime original.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I think all his last like 4 movies are
on Amazon.
So you can watch a lot of Farhadi films on there.
Yeah,
for free.
Nice.
I definitely have to. I'm opposite with you. I have to trade with you. You have to watch Salesman, and I have to watch A Separation. So I'll have to get on that one.
Literally been on my list for years, and I've never gotten around to it.
It's okay. It's okay. Twin Peaks been on my list since I was born. So.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We're probably going to review all of these anticipated movies. We're probably going to see a lot of these come back on our end of the year list. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Renato, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. I know you're still a little under the weather, but I appreciate you showing up.
Surviving.
Hell yeah. Alrighty, folks. We love you. Goodbye. Go watch Top Gun Maverick.